Hey everyone, Jamie Meloni, your host of the all-new That Business Show 2.0, where we talk with different business owners, entrepreneurs, political, and community leaders each and every morning, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on TampaBayRadio.com, and all shows made available on demand over on iTunes as well as on YouTube. Just head over to thatyoutubechannel.com. Each and every morning, we get some great tips from many great entrepreneurs, and today we're going to talk about how to convert those leads on your website and also how to make money on that email list. So many of us have that email list, and we're sending out emails, but we're getting unsubscribes and we're not getting, returns. And so we've got a guy here today, Terry Dean, president of My Marketing Coach, who went from an $8 an hour pizza delivery job to making hundreds of thousands of dollars in an online business. And it all started with email marketing. And so Terry, welcome into the program this morning.
Oh, thank you for bringing me here, Jamie. It's great to be here.
So first off, talk to us about the beginning. You were delivering pizzas for $8 an hour and you saw an opportunity. This is way back in 1996. How did this begin?
Well, back in 1996, I had tried a lot of things to succeed. I had started my own businesses. I had tried network marketing. I had tried doing mail order, a lot of different things. I failed at a lot of things. You could say I finally failed my way to success. And that was early on in the internet days. And I first heard some rumors of people getting started. We're talking 96, so we're talking dinosaur age of the internet. And I got my start on CompuServe. I actually bought my first PC at Best Buy, used like the last credit card I had to buy a PC at Best Buy, and taught myself to use it, and went on CompuServe and just started like answering some questions for people on CompuServe and things like that. And what I did in the very beginning was I got people to join an email list, and it's a whole lot easier to manage lists now. Back then I was like having to manage lists manually, but I got people to join an email list, and I sent out an email every week that I was just sharing some content, sharing some values. I was basically sharing a lot of things I was learning about the internet at the time, just basically telling my story of what I was doing and what was happening. And I started off by purchasing some licenses to some videos, things like self-help videos like Mark Victor Hansen, things like that. And I started selling those. We're talking VHS videos back in that time.
And you made $96,000 off of one email at one point?
I did. You fast forward a couple of years to that, and I actually did that in front of a live audience. We ran an internet conference, and I said during the conference I would demonstrate just how much money I could make from an email. And we promised that they'd see me make at least 10,000 over the weekend. I did 96,000 just with one email to my list, making a promotion over the weekend in front of the audience.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, today though, isn't email marketing kind of the dinosaur of marketing? I myself have, email lists with tens of thousands of people on it, but it seems like every time you send out an email, you'll lose, a certain percentage to unsubscribes, and it's hard to get engagement from email because we're so inundated today with email marketing. Is email marketing still an effective marketing tool for entrepreneurs?
Email is still the most effective marketing tool for the clients that I work with. And for me, the big mistake that a lot of people make is they send out, I hate to say it this way, but most people send out just boring emails. There's no real connection there. There's no connection with the reader. There's no stories. There's nothing that makes a connection. You're going to find that people actually prefer buying by email. It's changing a little bit on the youngest generation that's growing up at the moment, but the majority of sales are still being produced by email right now.
And email open rates, I mean, even if you get a 10 to 15% open rate, that's considered really good. I mean, do you experience even greater open rates with your email marketing, or is still 10 to 15% considered the standard?
Most of my clients run in like the 20 to 30% level after someone's been on the list for a while. Most of the time in the very beginning, when somebody first joins the list, we expect to see like 40% plus. After someone's been on the list for a while, they've cooled down a little bit. We like seeing somewhere between 20 and 30% on the open rates. But you have to remember that the open rates aren't fully accurate. A lot of them block a lot of different services. They block the images, so open rates don't show up correctly. They don't always show up correctly on mobile. So, you really can't trust the open rates a whole lot.
And how do you get through these spam filters these days? I don't even know if a lot of them even are getting delivered. I hear so often, I found a bunch of your emails in my spam box, a year later. How do you ensure that emails are even getting to your people?
Well, some of the best things that you can do is with the email is basically segment out your list, because you want people to respond to emails. You want them to be opening emails because, again, all the services, Gmail and all the other services, they're tracking whether people open it. And here's a real quick tip to help people get the emails through is make sure when people first join your list, you're going to have higher open rates in the beginning. Make sure that one of your first few emails that you send out is asking them a question. Make it a really short email. Ask them what their biggest challenge is. Ask them what their biggest problem is, and just leave it like that. Just say, what's your biggest challenge that you have with X, whatever your subject is, whatever you're selling, and then say, just hit reply and respond to me on this. That's all that you do in this email. The reason is that you want a lot of people replying, because a lot of the email services will then say, hey, look, this is someone who people are replying back to. It's not just a newsletter. It's somebody who's having a conversation.
Now, is this something that you should put in the subject line? I mean, because the subject line is going to determine whether or not somebody even opens the email. And I know you don't want to be misleading or anyway manipulative with your messaging. You know, should you put the question in the subject line? How do you advise?
Well, I'd say the actual subject line you want to use, I'll give you the exact subject line. I need your help. That's the subject line that you use. I need your help.
That's a good subject line, because a lot of times we talk about that on the show. If you ask people for help, they want to engage you. Elaborate a little bit more on that topic.
Well, what you do is you do the I need your help. And then, as I said, a lot of my actual email says something simple. This probably isn't the exact wording, but it says something like, I'm going to be creating a lot of new content, a lot of new videos for my subscribers, and I need your help to make sure I'm producing the kind of content you need. What's the biggest challenge you're facing with online marketing right now? Just hit reply and send it back to me, and I read every single email.
Wow, that's a great tip right there. So just put "I need your help" in the subject line, and you'll get increased open rates. And because people want to help one another, there's something about the word "help" that engages or makes people engage with one another. So going back, you were making $8 an hour in 1996. You began, online marketing. What was the first things that you were selling? You said some video tutorials.
They were like self-help videos that I purchased licenses to. Things like I said, Mark Victor Hansen, things like that. That's when I was selling VHS videos back in the old days.
Okay, so you were basically acting as a broker for other people's products. We've heard about that when we talk about podcasting on the show and ways to monetize. You begin to you sell other people's products, and because you got to have some type of product to give to people when you're doing some type of a program such as this. And so, what did that lead into? Talk to me about the progression of your business after that.
Well, what it went from there is basically I did that for like 2 years. So I was just selling other people's products. Then about 2 years in, people started asking me, how are you doing this? How are you making a living online? Because it really only took me, I had a pizza delivery driver job. So it only took me a month or two to replace that job online once I figured out building an email list. About 6 months in, I realized that my income was directly proportional to my email list. And so I started focusing on my list at that point. What I mean by directly proportional is I'm one of the first people who actually mentioned that statement. You probably heard it, $1 per email per month. Now, it's not actually true anymore. But I said it way back in like 98, 99, something of that long, because that's what I had been doing up till then. And over the first about 2 years, people started asking me, how are you doing this? How are you building lists? And so I started creating some products, started creating some training, and started getting invited to internet conferences where I did the demo, which we talked about earlier.
Okay, so after 2 years, you began to develop your own product. But I love the idea, because I didn't even think of this until fairly recently. It's something that I want to begin implementing on my show, because I feel that I lacked productization, and I'm missing a huge income component from that right there. How receptive are people even today when you go to them and say, hey, I love your product. How about, you let me market it and sell it on my show? How receptive are people even today with that approach?
That is like super easy. I think that you'll find if you have a show, if you have listeners, you have subscribers, so you have an email list, you have a show, you have anything else, most people are going to say, yes, please sell my product. And you can come with some kind of whatever the commission is on a service. A lot of times on the services, people will pay somewhere like 20, 30% on products. If they're information products, it's usually 50% or higher. Physical products, it depends on what's being sold. But you're going to find that it's very easy to get people to sell their products for them.
Well, there you go right there. Start out by reaching out to people, because we have a lot of podcasters in our community that are listeners. We have a big podcasting group here in Tampa, and it's a frequently asked question. How do I monetize? What do I do? I can't think of a good product to sell. I don't know what to do. I can host a show, but I can't sell a product. And so go to other people that have products and begin to sell them and work out a commission schedule. That's exactly, I don't know if you're familiar with Entrepreneur on Fire and John Lee Dumas, a very successful podcaster. A tip that he gave as well when he began starting his podcast was to go out to people, and he began selling their products and had similar or very good success. So let's talk about getting people to your website and getting those conversion rates. And so what is your formula for quickly boosting the conversion on landing pages and websites?
Okay, we're going to go over this real quick. I developed it over years of doing hot seats at conferences where I had to do something really quick, right? And so I call it the golden glove. Right? And I want you to think about the 5 fingers of the golden glove. You need to see these 5 pieces on any website you want to convert. They are desperate problem, unique promise, overwhelming proof, an irresistible offer, and a reason to act now. Those are the 5 pieces we're looking for. And when someone asks me to look at their website, look at their landing page, look at an email, I look to see if they hit all 5 points. The desperate problem is, are they talking to a specific audience and they covering a problem that that audience has? Unique promise. Are they offering a promise that's different from the competition, that stands out from the competition, that the customer sees as new? Overwhelming proof. What type of proof are they offering? This includes testimonials, case studies, demonstrations. Video demonstrations are some of the best types of proof you can have. An irresistible offer means that there's something that's standing out. Basically, they're selling dollars for dimes. It's much more valuable than what they're selling it for. And then a reason to act now means that there's some type of scarcity, there's some deadline on the offer. And it's kind of amazing. I've done a lot of email promotions, and I call it a heart attack curve. And that's where you send out an email and there's like very few sales for the first few days. And then right as the deadline comes, you get like 75% of the sales come in like 6 hours before the deadline. That's a heart attack curve on a special.
Would you say, because I'm a person that wants to give people a lot of content and a lot of information, and I'm noticing more and more as I study online marketers that less seems to be more on their websites. I go to their site, there's a big box here, enter your email right in the middle of the page, and then there's a couple little things, and they're just really trying to capture your information, whereas I want to give you a bunch of information up front on my website and hope that you come to me. How do you advise with regard to content on a website?
Well, content, I always think it should be strategic content that we're sharing. So it's not just basically throwing out content. I always call it constipated content doesn't sell. Okay, constipated content is content that we'll just say is a bunch of tips. Okay, a bunch of different elements, a bunch of different little bullets. The type of content you want to be sharing is content that's stories, that has personality behind it, that has a connection behind it. And you almost can say, okay, we give us a certain measure of content, that's proof, it's a demonstration of the value offer. Then we want to move them to the next level. We get them to opt in. And then after that, we're going to continue on with that relationship, delivering the same type of content, strong stories, mixed in with proof and value that leads into offers.
Now, we got to get people to the website to convert them, and we're going to take a break here, but coming back from the break, we're going to lead in with that question is, how do you get people to the website to even get them to convert? And we're currently talking again, Terry Dean, president of My Marketing Coach. Learn more about him, mymarketingcoach.com. You're listening to the all-new That Business Show 2.0 with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Hey, Jamie Meloni back here on the all-new That Business Show 2.0, where business becomes show business. We're here Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on TampaBayRadio.com, and you'll find us on iTunes as well as high-definition video over on YouTube. Simply head over to thatyoutubechannel.com. A good discussion today. We're talking about how to convert those email lists into dollars and also how to get, results from those lead pages in our websites, and how now to get people to those lead pages. It's easy to set up those lead pages, but how do you get people to them? Do you invest thousands of dollars into Facebook to drive people there? Is it all about emails to drive people there? I don't know. We're going to ask Terry Dean, president of My Marketing Coach. He's with us today. Learn more about him, mymarketingcoach.com. So Terry, how do you get people to these web pages to even convert them to begin with?
Well, I have clients who they generate their traffic totally for free, and I have other clients that are spending 100,000 plus a month on advertising online. So we have both different strategies that we use. What I recommend for most people is that we choose a source to deliver content. For example, it could be that you set up a podcast and you start doing podcasting, all right, which is obviously something that you do and a lot of your audience does.
Right.
A lot of my clients will do YouTube. For example, like I have a client who sells tennis products and runs tennis clinics, and we do a lot of stuff on YouTube for him because he's giving little tennis tips on YouTube. Now, what I'm going to recommend with people is, especially when you're just getting started. Now, this isn't required, but this will fast start you, because a lot of the free methods, it takes time to build a list. We're talking, to build an audience might take 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So what a lot of my clients will do is they'll mix in a content delivery method with a paid advertising. For example, with YouTube, and if we're delivering free content, free videos on YouTube, we'll also run some paid advertising on YouTube. We'll run some of the display advertising. We'll run some in-stream advertising. We'll often start with really small budgets, like $5, $10 a day with advertising. The reason being is you can drive subscribers a lot faster, a lot more visitors to your website immediately because you control the advertising, and you're going to have a side effect that you're going to build up YouTube channel. And that's true whether we were using Facebook and we built up a Facebook page and we did a little Facebook advertising. It has a side effect of building up your Facebook page.
Do the people like free reports? Do like free videos, free audios? What is that teaser hook that gets more conversions, or is it just dependent upon whatever industry that you're in?
It depends on the industry in. Sometimes the best, if we're talking about like a hook to get people over to your website, what I like to do a lot of times is tell people to give away a free cheat sheet. So instead of like giving away a big video or a long audio, a lot of times it's just a cheat sheet. An example, I have a lot of clients who are actually running ads like this right now. So we're running ads and we're spending a lot of money on the advertising. We're generating a lot of subscribers. We'll actually run an ad that takes you over to a website where we have a video on the website. And we're giving the video totally free. We're giving content, like 20, 30 minutes of content in a video on our landing page. And then underneath the video, there's a little button that you hit the button and you'll opt in. We'll give you a cheat sheet that goes along with the video. And those work incredibly well at getting opt-ins because we're giving value in the video, and then underneath the video we're giving a little cheat sheet so that you can get it faster. And the reality is a lot of people don't want to watch the whole video.
Right.
They just want the cheat sheet.
And after you give them the free product, should you immediately try to hit them with some type of small sales product, and then from there hit them with something bigger? That's some of the other formulas that I've heard that online marketers use.
Well, and I've actually had this tested, and we did test it a lot with Facebook advertising because we had a lot of budget going out to Facebook advertising. And we found that we were much better off if we did hit them with an immediate offer after they opted in. If we made an offer right there, right after they opted in, we ultimately generate somewhere between 30 and 50% of our front-end sales within 24 hours.
And what price point works well for that first front-end sales? I've heard it needs to be small, but not some $10,000 program at that point, obviously.
What most clients have done is in consumer markets, things like tennis, golf, and things like that, under $50. In a business-to-business market, a lot of times we like it under $100.
And what do you recommend for that first product? I see a lot of people trying to get people to join like a private Facebook group or some type of a report, regular report or something. What's good for $50?
What's good for $50 depends on exactly what's being offered. A lot of times we'll take something that we normally sell for much more, maybe $100 or $150 product, and we'll make a special that's special right now for like $47 or $49 for this. And it might be like a full digital online course. It might be another client offers like a set of 2 DVDs that he offers. And so there's a lot of different things that we do. One client, even for $99, does a 30-minute consultation in a business-to-business field. As an example right there.
And he's converting on that, just $99 consultation, and he's converting on that. Now, I heard you mention online courses. I recently started toying with one of those sites. How are people doing with online courses and building out their courses and marketing those products?
Well, see, I've done that for a long time. So this is something that I've done pretty much for like 2 decades. I think my first online course, digitally delivered course, was probably in like 1999 or so. So we're talking a long time that I've been doing
What
this.
was the first course you did? What was it on?
It was actually about internet marketing and how I had been using email up till then,
Okay.
what I had been doing personally. And like even right now, I have a course that teaches on email marketing. I have another course that teaches about how to create online courses on information marketing. So that's another thing that I do. And it's very easy to set up a membership area. And like we work with, a lot of times we'll work with like a WordPress membership site. We'll set up a simple membership site that you can have somebody install for you. And it's really easy to go in and add additional content. And basically it manages all your members for you.
Wow. And so all this really revolves around the ability of you to influence others. You know, how long does it take for somebody to become an influencer of others? Is simply just having a show or putting out a lead page, make you an expert to some people? I mean, how do you go about getting that influencer status to get people to want to buy your product?
Well, there's several different steps. The thing is, you need to have some type of audience, some type of content that you're building. It could be an email list. It could be a podcast. It could be, a YouTube video channel. So it doesn't really matter, but you have some way that you're delivering content. And then I call it the authority architecture. I'm going to have time to go into all the pieces of it here. But one of the first things I'll give, one that you want to think about from the very beginning, is you need to have an origin story of why you're in this market. It kind of crosses over with your mission, but why are you in this market? What led you into this market? What problem caused you to get started in this market? And that's one thing that you're going to constantly talk about. I talk about my pizza delivery driver. I was broke and I needed some way to start online. That's part of my origin story that we've already been talking about. You have an origin story. Every one of your clients, everyone listening here has an origin story that they can talk about, and they need to be talking about that regularly. It's their reason for being in the market, and that's just one piece of what I teach of different steps we add in for the authority architecture.
Now, obviously, since 1999, the online marketers, the coaching business has gotten much more crowded in your space. How are you able to stay afloat and differentiate yourself and continue to be successful in today's marketplace, which again is much more crowded?
It's much more crowded, but a lot of it just comes from delivering value, actually helping customers get results. That's a big deal, is actually helping customers get results, and then asking for testimonials. And here's a real quick tip that I've seen from multiple of my clients, especially like my local business clients. I have a lot of online clients, but I also deal with clients who own restaurants and clients who own auto dealerships and things like that. The absolute best thing we've done in those businesses is we've focused heavily on getting reviews in the online sites. Those reviews, he's like the restaurant, the restaurant owner says he constantly has people coming in because they saw the hundreds of reviews he now has. And what we do at his restaurant is when someone says that they're happy with the food, they're excited about the meal that they just had, his waiters and waitresses have this little business card. It's like a little fold-over business card that they hand them that tells them how to go online to Google. We bought a domain that we have redirect right to the Google reviews. So if you type in the domain name, it takes you right to his review place so you can put in a review in Google. And he hands them this card, says, hey, go review this. And then it says, and if you had a problem with your meal, then please contact the owner, and gives his email address.
Wow, that's a great tip. And we're hearing all the time about the power of the reviews. I myself have been really weak in the area of getting reviews for the different services that I offer, but I hear that so often because I'm just not somebody who goes and looks at reviews myself. That's just me personally. I think it's a flaw, obviously, because I hear from so many people in doing the show that reviews are so tantamount or paramount to getting your business built up. Let's go back to content marketing. What is your number one tip for generating more sales from content marketing?
Well, my number one tip is I want to give you a little model. This is an email model. It works in video. It works with a short audio. Obviously, a longer audio like a podcast is going to have more content in the middle, but it works with like shorter pieces of content. And that is, I always have 3 pieces in an email. I always call it the hook story. Okay, there's some type of story, some type of relationship building here. I mean, in my emails, I talk about my new German Shepherd puppy. I talk about how he was biting me. That's a recent email. I talked about that. I had a recent email subject line was surviving the land shark. Okay, it was about my puppy. So you have a little story. That's the hook to begin with, and that's a little relationship building. You have a tip, some type of value that comes in with that. And with that, I talked about a little bit about dog training and then how training a dog's often like all of a sudden it just snaps. They just get it. You get frustrated, they all of a sudden just get it. And it's similar to online marketing because you have to all of a sudden build that momentum. It seems like nothing's happening for a while, and then all of a sudden it just happens and you start appearing everywhere and you start getting all these sales. And then I go into the third piece is transition. And a transition means I transition into an offer. And since I just talked about the momentum, I then went into an offer for my monthly club that I have and say how that you can get the best advice every month to help you move forward, to help get to the place where you have that momentum going for you. So I always think about those three pieces. We have a story hook, we have our content and tips that come in the center, and with a longer piece of content, it's going to be much longer pieces. You're going to go back and forth. You'll have story, content, and then we come into a transition at the end where we're making our offer.
And so people want to get to know you. That's an area that I know I'm struggling with is I just want to kind of be the logical face of the business. I really don't want people to know me maybe on a personal level, but you yourself are saying that it's all about that story element up front, that why factor that helps people connect with you. So how do you turn new subscribers into buyers? You're saying within 24 hours of joining your email list.
Well, what you do is you come up and you basically, again, it's a similar transition, which we already mentioned a little bit, which was the fact that it's a moment after somebody opts in, I like to make an offer. I like to make an irresistible offer at that point, something that's much better price than what we would normally have. And it's just as an example, one of my funnels I have as an offer, I actually have the authority architecture, authority X factor showing you how to get authority. And I actually have my special, doesn't even have a specific price on it. It's a product that I would normally sell for $49.95, but it says name your own price. And I let people type in whatever price they want to buy it at that point.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure, but do you get unrealistic things of like, 5 cents or something? I mean, how realistic are they when they use the name your price model?
Well, it's interesting because I can give you the exact stats off of it. Since I put it at $49.95, I mean, some people come in and type $1. The shopping cart won't accept less than $1 for it. But the actual average is $17. Oh, that's the average overall.
And is that a fair take on your end, $17?
It is, because it's a digital course. It's digitally delivered. Of course, I'd like a little bit more for it, but I'm bringing in a customer, and those same customers, they love the course, and they end up buying other things afterwards. And see, by making an irresistible offer like that, that's how you transition somebody into a sale. We mentioned a lot of other clients will do something under 50 or will do something under 100, but that's our goal, is to make some type of irresistible offer that connects with what they just did. And like, here's the mistake everybody makes. Say, hey, I should go, deliver a whole bunch of content. And that's what I thought also. And I thought Facebook would be perfect. Hey, let's deliver a content. Let's not sell till later. Well, you're making a huge mistake, because you just grabbed somebody's attention with your ad, or you grabbed somebody's attention with a podcast or something else. They came to your website. They saw something on your webpage they want, like a freebie or something. They join your list. They say, hey, I want that. They join your list. And now you're going to say, oh, now wait before I make any more offers to you. That doesn't make sense. You just broke the momentum. Somebody was looking for you. Somebody found you. Somebody subscribed to your list. Let's continue the momentum, and let's make them an offer to help them. Well,
this has been a great interview, a lot of great content that people can immediately put to good use, and getting those conversion rates on their emails up, as well as getting conversion rates on their lead pages up as well. Terry Dean, president of My Marketing Coach. Real quick, we're based here in Tampa Bay, but talk to us about how you can help people. Do you work with people from across the country?
I work with people not only across the country, but across the world. About half my clients are international, overseas. And you can find out more about me and join my list. I have a free gift that'll show you 7 ways to create stories. And you can pick that up, the email conversion kit, at mymarketingcoach.com.
All right, sounds good. Terry Dean, again, president of My Marketing Coach, mymarketingcoach.com. Great interview, Terry. Thank you so much. Again, you can find us Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on TampaBayRadio.com. And please subscribe to us on iTunes as well as on YouTube. Simply head over to thatyoutubechannel.com. You've been listening to That Business Show 2.0 with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products: hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
everyone. Jamie Meloni, your host of the all-new That Business Show 2.0, where business becomes show business. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., online at tampabayradio.com and on demand across multiple podcasting platforms, including iTunes, and high-definition video available over at thatyoutubechannel.com. We've done thousands of entrepreneurial interviews and 3.5 years on radio and podcasting and video streaming. We've got a lot of content for you out there. So a great program, a lot of great tips out there for professionals in all industries. I've talked with people in every different industry that you can think of, and we'd love to get you involved with the program as well. So wherever it is that you are in the country, you can get in touch with us and get onto the program. We connect with people locally here in Tampa Bay, a lot of times in the studio. We get people in here on the phone, through Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you are in the country. We'd love to hear from you. So visit tbsinterview.com for ways to for how to come onto the program. Again, tbsinterview.com. So on today's program, we're going to be talking with Gary Srock. He's the author and entrepreneur. His books, The American Dream Revisited and If Your Money Talked. And so, Gary, welcome into the program today.
Thank you, Jamie.
So your first book that we're going to talk about here is The American Dream. What is it? Is The American Dream Live or Dead? Or sorry, The American Dream Revisited. And so I want to ask you, is the American Dream alive or dead, and what is its pulse?
I think it's very alive. It might be a little quiet, but it's very alive. And I think it has never died, and I don't think it'll ever die. I think it's just built into our culture.
Well, first off, define what the American Dream is for yourself, and then I'll tell you what I've always thought of what the American Dream is.
Okay. I've always thought of the American Dream as opportunity. I think we offer amazing opportunity in this country. And to me, that's what it's always really stood for. Opportunity
in terms of just the ability to work where you want and go where you want? Or is it, American Dream has to do with financial freedom? Is it just opportunity?
Well, no, you hit it on the head. Opportunity to work where you want, to go to school where you want, to live where you want, to make as much money as you want. I mean, literally, we're not capped, so we have lots of opportunity. So I use that term in a very broad base, but realistically, what you're hitting it is exactly what I'm thinking, Jamie.
Now, to me, the American Dream has always been about financial freedom, about home ownership. People that know the show know that I sell real estate, and the American Dream to me was always taught owning your own home, which would lead to financial freedom. And so to you, the American Dream is about opportunity, and to whatever it is the American Dream is to you, I mean, happiness is to what it is to each of their own. And so whatever it is that makes you happy, it to me is ultimately what the American Dream is. As long as you're happy, you're not a burden upon other people, you have the ability to come and go as you please, you have the ability to work where you want to work, do what you want to do within the bounds of the law. That is what the American Dream is all about. And in your book, The American Dream Revisited, tell us a little about some of the concepts and some of the takeaways that people get from this book.
Well, it's interesting. The book really originated because I live in Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which you guys are familiar with in Tampa because you have some people in it. And but nonetheless, I was in a coffee shop right down the road from my office. I'm a financial services guy. I've been in that industry for 35 years. And in the mornings, I have a tendency to go to coffee shops and sit and kind of think about what's going on. I drink mochas, and I sit and sip my mocha and think about my day, my week, my life, whatever it is. And one morning, I'm sitting there, and 4 college students come and sit down right behind me. And they start talking about the American Dream, except it became the American disaster. And they were very negative, 3 of them were. And the 4th young man, who wasn't negative and hadn't said anything, finally spoke up and said, I don't really agree with you guys. I'm going to have college debt. I got credit card debt, but I'm going to get a good job. I'm going to pay it off. I'm going to buy myself a house, which, by the way, fits in perfectly with what you're talking about. And I'm going to have a great life. And they basically shut him down and really didn't give him a chance to express any more of his opinions. But I heard that discussion, it really bothered me. And I would say 3 or 4 nights later, about 4 o'clock in the morning, I just decided, I woke up, I said, I'm going to write a book. I have to prove that those young men are not correct, that the American Dream does exist, and that the fact that they're so negative at such a young age is not good. And I'm going to write stories, and I'm going to find people who have achieved their American Dream, and that's really what I did.
Okay, so the book, The American Dream Revisited, then, is a collection of stories about successful people in the country. Is that correct?
Yes, and some of them from all over the world, actually. I took people that were not from our country who moved to our country. I took people from our country. I just took stories of people that I came in contact with from just totally different backgrounds, and I put them together. I had about 25 people I interviewed over the course of a couple of years and ended up with 13 stories.
Now, was this your first venture into being an author?
No, I wrote my first book was If Your Money Talked.
That was the first one. Okay, so we'll talk about that one in just a moment. Then, so the American Dream Revisited was your second term at you becoming an author, and so let's talk about why you wrote the book. You're talking about having this experience in the coffee shop, overhearing some people talking about this and how that became your inspiration. But we hear negativity all the time. What was the catalyst? So why did that inspire you to write that book? Because we come across things all the time that we hear we don't like, but rarely does it, inspire us to write a book.
Well, and you're right, but this one just really hit a nerve, and it had to do with my own childhood and my own life, and I didn't really realize that at the time. It wasn't until I was kind of in the middle of this when that really aha moment, why was I motivated, why did I do this? I actually didn't have a very good answer in the beginning, and my wife must have asked me 50 times, and I really couldn't pinpoint it, and then one of my friends actually pointed it out to me, and we were having lunch at a place in Canton, and he mentioned it to me, and I looked at him, and I was like dumbstruck. I said, wow, I never thought of that. And the answer is because in my own family, I watched the American Dream happen in my family. So that really was what set this off, is that I was a product of the American Dream. My family was not well off. My dad was really struggling to put food, clothing, and shelter together, and it was just one of those things. And then I watched my father work hard and do some things and become very successful in the financial services industry. So that really was, I guess if I went right back to it, that's really hit the nerve that I wasn't aware of. But it sure motivated me without me even really having a good sound reason for it. And then I'm stubborn, so I just wouldn't let it go.
Now we're seeing, I'm 39 now, and I'm part of the Generation X. My father, again, talked to me a lot about the American Dream, home ownership, stability, and you're setting yourself up for retirement. But we're seeing a cultural shift these days in the millennial generation. People that are, where they're not, in tune with home ownership. They're not in tune with getting married. We're seeing a complete different kind of mentality out there today. But then again, in your terms of, the American Dream, it's just still about opportunity. And so even, the shift in culture, still affords these people the ability to have opportunity and do what they want. How does this new culture, and this cultural shift, translate to how you perceive the American Dream coming about?
Well, it's interesting. Jamie, I think the American Dream has changed a lot, and I think it evolves with generations. I don't think it's the same. I know when I was growing up, what I thought it was in the 60s was very different than it is today. And certainly when I ask the younger generation, when I get a chance to talk to them, and I do fairly often, I always ask them what the American Dream is. Fascinating what they put down. By the way, we did a survey in a high school, the one that I happen to have graduated from late years ago. But we went and had an English teacher that's a friend of mine. She handed out a survey to 100 students and said, okay, what's the American Dream? Define it. Is it alive or is it dead? And if it's alive, tell me why. If it's dead, tell me why it's dead. And the survey came back, 95% of the young students said the American Dream was definitely alive. And that it was all about, you'll like this, buying a home, right, having a good job. And one person said having a great dog and great vacations. But they were very, very positive. And so I think that, the view of what the American Dream is, it changes, but I think it's still core values are still there.
Well, what did you learn then while writing The American Dream Revisited?
Well, I learned that there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic in this country. We certainly hear tons of pessimism and tons of negativity, and that's everywhere. But there aren't that many places that are optimistic. And one of the things that when I wrote the book is I realized I was really writing a very optimistic book. And I didn't write a very optimistic book on finances, by the way. So it wasn't. It was a very negative book, actually. In some regards, I was just ticked. But this one, very optimistic, because I looked at all these people who've overcome so many amazing handicaps and hardships, and the success they've had, it's hard not to feel good about them.
Now, you're also the author of the book, If Your Money Talked. Again, you've been in the financial services industry, you said, for over 30 years, and we'll talk a little bit about that book when we come back from the break. Again, we've been talking about the American Dream Revisited. First off, availability of your books. Where can people find your books?
You can get it on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, or they can check my website also, Gary Sirak, and it's SIRAK.com.
Okay, and we talk a lot on this program about how just being an author really sets you apart from your competition. Now, you've authored 2 books. Just generally speaking, how have they helped, or not helped if they didn't, your career as an entrepreneur and in financial services?
Phenomenal. I wrote a book. Actually, I wrote the first book because I was irritated, but what really happened is I had a number of people who read the book contact me and say, listen, we really loved your philosophy. We really liked what you had to say. Can you come and meet with us? And I would meet with them and ended up actually picking up clients by something I never envisioned happening. I just never saw that as an even opportunity because I didn't write the book for that purpose. But that's really what happened, and I ended up meeting some excellent people. I did a lot of speaking engagements, and that was fun. And so I met a lot of people I never met before, and it was really a very enjoyable experience.
Very few people say that they have a bad experience in writing a book. And so for all the entrepreneurs and business professionals out there, definitely want to become an author. It definitely helps set you apart in your category. So again, talking with Gary Sirak. He is an author and entrepreneur. Been talking about the American Dream Revisited. And in his final chapter of the book, he offers 7 key skills and ideas to help people on their journey. And so when we come back from the break, we'll talk with him about which of those 7 skills does he thinks is the most important, and also start talking about his book, If Your Money Talked. And again, you can learn more about him and find these books over at GarySirak.com. That's GarySirak.com. You're listening to That Business Show 2.0 with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeagers. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeagers, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products: hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Hey, well, Jamie Meloni here with Gary Schrock. He is the author and he is an entrepreneur, author of the books The American Dream Revisited and also If Your Money Talked. To learn about these over at GarySchrock.com. And so, Gary, in the final chapter of your book, The American Dream Revisited, you offer 7 key skills and ideas to help people on their journey. Which of those 7 skills, first off, do you feel is most important?
Boy, I have to go with mentorship. I really think that's just huge. And every person I interviewed, all 25 of them, all had mentors, and all of them had someone that impacted their life in a positive way, or many people that impacted them. So I think about that a lot, but that is just a critical piece of making this happen. It's just impossible in my mind to get somewhere if you can have someone that can help you test drive it, who's already made those mistakes or has seen that, that highway before you get on it. It just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's a great point. I talk about that a lot in this program, the mentor-protege relationship. My first mentor being my father. A lot of people's their parents become their first mentor. For yourself, who was a mentor along your path? Did you have a mentor in the financial services industry or somebody in life that guided you? Tell me a little about your experience with mentors or as a mentor.
Well, it's interesting. My father clearly was one of my mentors in the financial services, but there was also a man in California, his name was John Allen, who my father was friendly with, and I had just entered the business, and my dad said, you're just not like me, you're a lot more like John Allen. I arranged for you to go spend 5 days with him and his wife Eleanor, so you're going to fly out to California and LA and you're going to hang out with him for 5 days. I'd never met this man in my life, didn't have a clue who he was. He picks me up in a Porsche, which I was impressed with. Anyhow, so I'd never been in a Porsche. So anyway, I get in and spend 5 days with these people. He was a wonderful person, and he became a mentor. I mean, he just gave me so much information in 5 days. I felt like I had been force-fed insurance and financial services beyond anything I'd ever dreamed of, and so he clearly was one. And there's no question he would fit. I also had a basketball coach that was a mentor, and he just had a great way of putting things, 2 of them really, who made a huge impact in my life. The first one who actually thought I was decent and started me, and then pulled me aside one game and said, I would really like you, Gary, to pick up your pace a little bit. He said, you're kind of watching a game, you're not playing it. I said, okay. And he said, so here's what I want you to do. He said, when you're out on the court, he said, do you know how you play hard in practice? I said, yes. He said, that's how I want you to play during this game. He said, you're just a little too timid for me. And I said, okay. And I never sat down after that. That man started me for the rest of my career. So it's impressive when you get a coach like that and someone who believes in you. Now,
you said you interviewed some 25 different people about the American dream. Were you talking with people of all ages and all makes throughout the book?
Yes, I spread it all over the place, and yeah, I did. All shapes and sizes.
Did people?
We really tried to. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, did people at some point get off track? Did people ever lose the sight of being able to achieve the American dream? Because so many people go through periods of maybe depression or downturns in their lives, but did they always remain optimistic in the sense that they could rebound from that?
Oh, absolutely not. They were definitely not. They were down in the dumps. They were on their last nickel. They were crushed. I mean, but they didn't quit. And something happened that turned them around. Sometimes they had a spiritual experience. Sometimes they had a mentorship experience. Sometimes they just were at the right place at the right time. It was just fascinating. One person was sitting in a really cool story, but this lady was actually in a post office waiting to mail something, and on the wall was a poster to join the National Guard and become someone. And she was standing there waiting in this very long line around Christmas, and she was just bored to death, and she kept looking at that poster. The next day, she signed up for the National Guard and actually ended up becoming a pretty amazing lady, a general in the Army.
Wow.
So just off of that poster. So, everybody had their down moments, and everybody kind of was pretty much devastated, but they refused to quit, which is one of my 7. You just can't give up.
How did writing this book affect you personally? Did it make you more of an optimistic person? I noticed earlier you said when you wrote the book, If Your Money Talked, you wrote that from a position of not so optimistic. Tell me about how this book influenced you personally.
Oh, it really makes me feel good. I've spoken to large groups of people, a couple hundred high school students, and I've done a number of presentations, and it's just an optimistic book. It makes people feel good. They read the book and say, wow, I could do this. It gives me hope. And that's really what I've gotten from it. People write me emails and send me notes and say, hey, read your book, this is amazing. It changed this, it changed that, and it's fun. I mean, I really enjoy that part of it.
Now, you talked about
the other book.
The other book you said it was not so optimistic. I'll cover that here in just a second.
Right.
We always like to remain positive on the program, so I'm going to leave a little bit less time for that. But you said the 7 skills that help people along their journey, the mentor-protege relationship being at the top of those 7 skills. Share with us another skill that people that you noticed inside of the book.
Sense of humor. God, Jamie, that was so big. The people had senses of humor. I mean, even as devastating as things were, as bad as it was, they never lost that. And the fact that, they would come out in my interviews, and I would just start laughing. They'd start telling me stories. And I said to them, I'm sure that wasn't funny at the time. I said, oh, God, it was awful, but now it's so funny because, and then they go into their details. And so there was a real sense of humor about these people, every single one of them. Had a kind of a comical side to them that they made fun of themselves. That's the other thing. It wasn't making fun of someone else. It was always about themselves. Yeah, and that's what they appreciated.
I think that's a great point. I myself have always done a lot of self-deprecating humor about myself. I've done some stand-up comedy just at the amateur open mic level. But yeah, I'm always willing to poke fun at myself, whether I succeed or I fail. I try to keep the same mentality because, it's life. And I just say, you're going to experience the goods, you're going to experience the bads. And I just look at it as just one big game we're all playing, and sometimes we make good moves, sometimes we make bad moves, and you just can't let yourself get overwhelmed by any one decision that you make, and maintain a great sense of humor. So I also want to talk about your other book there, your first first time in entrepreneur as an author, as If Your Money Talked. Again, 30 years as a financial services person, financial advisor. Talk to us first off about what inspired you to write this book and become an author.
Well, it really happened on a flight to Vegas. My wife and I, a very long time ago in my career, I somehow just wanted to get out of here, and so we hadn't been to Vegas in a very long time. I said, Linda, let's go spend a weekend in Vegas. So we took one of those charter planes out of Cleveland, and where everybody has assigned seats, you get there, and the plane, I tell people, the plane literally had so much energy, so much excitement on that plane. It was just really amped. I felt like it could fly itself. There was so much, people were very excited. We get to Vegas, we spend our 3 days there, whatever, and 4 days we get back on the plane, and all the excitement and all the energy had completely been sucked right out of the airplane. Coming back, you thought you had been to 3 funerals and were waiting for your 4th. I mean, and the reason for that is because when you go to Las Vegas, you don't normally win. And that's what happened on the plane. So all these stories about what these people were going to do as we were sitting around listening, and I like to listen to people talk, so I was kind of just paying attention to the discussions. And, people are saying, oh, I'm going to buy a new car, I'm going to pay off my house, I'm going to retire early. All the people that were going to win all this money in Vegas, well, the same people were sitting right around me because we all had the same seats. And it was a whole different world. People are saying, oh, I'm going to have to get 2 jobs. And so anyway, this whole thing set me off, and I said, boy, people really thought they were going to get rich going to Las Vegas. I said, that's really not a good thought. So that started the book. And then from there, I looked at stories of my clients and what they had done with their money, and I took the ones that had been train wrecks, and I changed their names and changed their jobs and their sexes and everything, and I really told their stories in the book and explained what happened to them and how the mistakes they made and why they did what they did and the things they shouldn't have done. And then I wrote, my spin on that and what they did, and then at the end I really give them a way to not do all those things. And so anyhow, that's really the whole nature of the book. Again, stories. I wrote, I think, 12 or 13 stories about people.
The ones who manage their monies well and do well without a lot of the downfalls, the financial downfalls at least, what are they doing right that the others are maybe not doing right?
They pay their credit cards off every month, and they literally save about 10% every paycheck. And they do that consistently, and they've done that. I have clients of mine who have never had a financial worry in their life because they always pay their credit cards off. They don't buy something they can't pay for. And they aren't out buying, 3 cars when they should have 2, or brand new ones when they don't need them, and they just pay attention to the money. and they're not so wrapped up in ego. And so what I found is most of the people who were in trouble financially were wrapped up because they had so much ego stuff going on. They're buying things to make themselves feel better one reason or another. And this other group that never had any issues, never had those kind of issues at all. I had an 87-year-old man and his wife in this week, and they're millionaires, and they live on a very plain street in a very plain house, and they're millionaires. And I said, how'd you become a millionaire? And he said, well, we just never thought we needed to spend our money on this stuff. We live well. They said, you know, we go out to dinner, we do what we want, we buy new vehicles when we want them, but we don't get them very often, and we pay cash for everything. And that's the secret. I think you just don't spend more than you make.
It's just about being simple. Something that I wrestle with a lot of times. I'm like, why did I get that? Now I'm in debt to that, and just I envy people that are just simple or are satisfied with the simple things in life. I myself was not born that way, and I struggle with that. But I think that's an excellent tip that you just shared with us about paying off the credit cards and not overextending yourself, because it makes for a much more relaxed life, not having those financial stresses. So we got to wrap up another great interview. Gary Schrock, author of The American Dream Revisited, also the author of If Your Money Talked. Both of them available over on his website, GarySchrock.com. So Gary, thank you so much. A great discussion, and we look forward to hearing from you again.
Jamie, I very much appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Absolutely. And learn more at him, GarySchrock.com. That's SIRAK.com. Also, learn more about us over at TampaBayRadio.com. Please subscribe to us on iTunes. Help the show grow. Leave a review. That helps get the show out in front of more listeners and more viewers over on our YouTube channel. Simply go to thatyoutubechannel.com and subscribe to that one as well. And we'd love to hear your story and about your business too. Visit tbsinterview.com. You've been listening to That Business Show 2.0 with Jamie Meloni, where business becomes show business.